Roll? Okay. World Cafe Live, folks. Still here with Chef Mathew Babbage. Chef, great dinner you did this evening.
Thank you.
Really appreciated everything about it, your hard efforts. And, our collaboration was actually kind of funny. It happened for me when I was standing in a parking lot at an account in New Jersey, and you had some great questions about our beer, questions that were fundamentally important to this event this evening. And we started with the Prima Pils, which for me is a personal favorite. And with all that sharpness and dryness, some people will say bitterness, but with all that dryness, I was kind of surprised when you first said cheddar cheese soup.
Right.
And but it worked flawlessly. I guess the creamy qualities of the milk, and then you created a foil for that with the crouton.
Right. It was, in doing these things, and a lot of what we do here is we or me and my team, we have to know some of everything. So the biggest thing I can do is ask the right questions, and that's where your description was good. So many times you read about wines and things like that, and they talk about citrus and copper, and you know what? Just
you hear that often.
Right, tell me what it is. Tell me what it tastes like. So when you first started to talk about it, the first thing I thought of was the classical Welsh rarebit. So the soup is actually made, the base of the soup is the Prima Pils. And the one thing that you need to be careful, it's nice because the alcohol boils at a lower temperature.
Right.
Because when you're cooking with cheese, you don't want to boil it or else it gets that grainy texture.
Absolutely.
So we started with that. And then normally I would make it with heavy cream, but used half and half so it was a little bit lighter. Got it so it was the right consistency through reduction, and then just slowly added the cheese. And then the nice twist was some really good Dijon mustard in there.
Yeah, there was a spike.
The thing which really topped it off was the horseradish crouton, and that was actually your idea. That was your suggestion. So, but it was nice
collaboration, I guess.
Exactly, but it floated in there. But well, it wasn't. It was. I asked the right questions, and you had the right answers. So, like you said, you were in a parking lot. It was. I just got your cell phone number, and it's just like, here, I'll give it a try and see what happens. So.
Well, I remember the experience so well because it was sort of like a culinary tennis match. You were saying one thing, I was saying another thing, and they dialed in together and they reached the same point eventually, which was very cool collaboration.
It's like a lot of things. When I ask questions, I don't want to just be told yes, yes, yes all the time. I like to know really what does this work or doesn't it work? Or if we're in the middle somewhere, let's come up with a solution and fix it. We have to, all the time, we're in kitchens making adjustments. We do huge numbers of covers and dinners in, like an hour, 2 hours period of time, where normally a restaurant would do it in 6. So we really get to business fast sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. In the live music playground, you definitely get hit, and some serious peaks, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because a lot of the people that come here are experts in music and also experts in food. So
I was going to say, if you have an appreciation for music, you have an appreciation for most things that appeal to the senses. So, wow.
But it's interesting. But the beer and having an opportunity to do this dinner is great because I'm one of those people that think that like wine is food, beer is food also, and it should all work together. It should all flow one thing into the next, where the beer doesn't overpower the food, but then the food also doesn't just overshadow the beer where you can't taste it. Or sometimes things just don't work well together.
Of course, there's always that other approach. The other approach being, let's give them tension, and let's have the two things work against one another. Right. We really didn't have that tonight. And honestly, I'm in your camp. I think that harmony is more the way to go with food and beer pairings.
I agree. And like the beer with the layers of flavor, try to do the same thing with food. We cook seasonally and use a lot of classical methods and technique, but not ignoring the way the current trends.
Okay.
But a good foundation allows you that ability to be able to change or add to, or sometimes just not even do something, take away, and just looking at something and taking everything into consideration. The beer, if it's got that big heady taste, well, we need to think about the food. You can't just throw something at it and hope for the best. So
right, and the other thing I'm seeing that's very cool to me is you also look at the whole sort of evolution of flavors as well. You don't look at it as like the beer and the food having one single impact on the palate. There's going to be an evolution of flavor as the dish, warms or chills, and as the beer warms itself. So there's always these crossovers and these interplays, and it's good to be cognizant of those, because otherwise, if you fail on that level, people recognize that.
If everything tastes the same, it gets pretty boring. Yeah. Then we'd all drink,
we got a lot of those restaurants, haven't we?
It kind of comes and goes, but it's just a great opportunity to work outside a comfort zone and to take something which you really have to stretch your imagination. I mean, we build, or in my kitchen, so many things are built on using or getting the most out of the fewest ingredients.
Okay.
I mean, the soup is very simple, the cheese is very simple, but you're talking about letting things warm in different flavors. The cheese has been out probably about 4 or 5 hours before anybody had a chance to eat it today, because I didn't want it cold coming from the cooler. The plate's cold, the cheese is cold. It's half the flavor, maybe. It's like some beers are better at room temperature or even a little bit warmer. Something really, I guess it all depends.
Yeah, the cheese from Roth in Wisconsin, it was a huge hit this evening.
Yeah.
And, I want to give you credit for, playing well with others, for lack of a better term, because there you go. I mean, the purity of that cheese, and all you did was throw condiments around it.
Right.
But it made a full dish, and it was nice that you were able to say, this is the flavor that I'm tasting with this beer, so here I'm going to go and do it this way.
Right. Well, that cheese, half the fun of that cheese is the aroma, is what you get when you go to take the first bite.
Sure.
So, and it's nice as it gets warm. It's real buttery.
Yes.
So it's one of those things where there's no tension at all. It's like the beer, the cheese, the candy nuts and the dried fruits, and then also the dark bread. It's just like one thing moves right into the next, but there's no specific order. It's all good at the same time. A little bit of cheese, a little bit of beer, or one thing on its own. It's nice.
Right. And obviously your parents always said you're not supposed to play with your food, but when you create a dish like that, it opens everyone else to playing with food. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of beer.
Yep.
See what happens.
Well, one of the most important things on this dinner was the proper level or the proper amount of salt, because salt's a great thing, but too much salt, you can't get rid of it, you can't take it away.
Right.
And something that's too salty is just not in this situation going to work. So
okay.
a few of the things were, I'm sure as people ate them, they had to take more than one bite to actually start to taste all of the different flavors. It's like the beer. The first sip or whatever, you get a nose full, and then your first taste, and then that's pretty good. So you try the second one, and that's when you start to really get the full flavor.
The full flavor of it.
Yeah, exactly. And with all the beers that were served this evening, you want to do that and actually let people have a chance to taste them.
Right.
And not, we're not here to rush people through. We want everybody to sit and relax and enjoy. So from each course and each beer, they get a chance to really check out what's happening.
Right. Well, no, I'm totally on board with the philosophy of that, because, again, all these beers, all of your cuisine has flavor. It's got to be given its time in order to evolve, and tonight was an excellent night to stretch out and do so. So hopefully we didn't put too much pressure on you the kitchen there.
No, we're fine.
You're fine?
This is what we do every day. So.
You say it in the right manner. I know how that is. Well, Chef, I'm happy to be here at World Cafe Live and doing the closing event of my beer week. It looks like you survived it in pretty good shape as well. So
this was a great close for us too. It was just a great opportunity to have you here. So
good, appreciate that. I'll be seeing you soon here at World Cafe Live again.
Thanks.
Thank you.